Hey guys, welcome to another 3DVista tutorial. My name is Ronald, I'm from 360 Creators, and in this tutorial I'll be going through creating a product pop-up like the one you're seeing over here. We got a few things, a close image, a placeholder image, info icon and a panorama. So let's dive into it. So over here we have select the skin. We start with empty skin. We import the panorama. And then take it, load it in. And right away we're going to add a hotspot trigger that will be taking this. So right over here. So we have something that will be serving as the trigger for the product pop-up. Let's go to the skin. We're going to start with a container. That is basically anytime you start creating something, a container is going to contain all the items within there. And we can align things horizontally, vertically. We can put it to the left, to the middle, to the right, to the top, to the bottom, to the center, all that kind of stuff. That is all possible with containers. So those are kind of like the building blocks of everything. And so what we're going to do is this container is going to be big. I'm going to put myself on the left side. And what we see over here are a few things. So we're going to call this product pop-up. And we see a container has various things that you can do. So to show everything, we have the absolute layout, horizontal, vertical, and all that. But right now I'm just going to get a little quickly through things to keep the tutorial or video a little shorter to the point. I'm going to right click this part to remove this. And I'm going to click this one, put this on black, and give the opacity something like 0.8%. Usually this means 80% of opacity. Usually this is pretty good for a background of the pop-up image. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add another container within this container. And this is going to be the white colored part of it. So I'm just doing this very roughly now. And I'm going to edit styles. And I'm going to put this all the way to 1. I do not want any opacity here. But I do want to have a little bit different than white, because white is like a very harsh color. So I prefer to take something like EFF 5F5 white, like this. It's a little softer and it's a bit more easier on the eyes. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add some radius so that the corners, right now you don't see anything yet, but now you start to see it. The edges is going to be nice and rounded, something like this. It doesn't really matter, you can play around with this. And now what I would like to make sure is that this is going to be something like a wrapper. So, and that right now, because we're just changing everything like this, you can see what's happening on here on the right side with the size and positioning. I would like to have this more or less like this. And now what I'm going to do, as I kind of set things how I kind of want things, then I'm ending around 90% and 90%, and now I'm going to make those numbers round numbers, things that I can work with. So I'm going to round this up to 5%, and I'm going to do the same over here on the right side with this one. And notice what happens. At the moment I'm clicking here on the right side, this thing becomes, you cannot change this anymore. As soon as I change this one, you can change this again. So I change this to 95 or 100. You see that it's changing. And right now, this is a little bit of the weird things of 3DVista, is that it says minus 5%. But I cannot say, yeah, well, I can say minus 6%, but there's no use case of this. So I'm going to say 5%, not minus 5%, so that this is equal to this, and I want the top as well equal to the bottom. So I'm going here as well, 5%, 5%. Let's see it for now. We might change this later on with the padding, but for that I would like to first have some stuff inside the wrapper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split up the wrapper in two parts, the left side and the right side. And so what I'll be doing is I'm going to create two containers, one over here. And as you can see, the default setting of 3DVista is having this white thing on each container. That's something to be very aware of. I find it a bit annoying, but yeah, you can just remove it like this, or putting the opacity to 0 every time. I'm going to select this, copy paste, because I want a left and I want a right side. Right now they're both the same. I'm going to take out the right. So yes, more or less like this. And just for the sake of knowing what we're doing, I'm going to give this a background color again. Oh, like black or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Green, just to see what is happening. And I'm going to do the same with the right as well. And later on I'll be removing those colors. So over here we have this and this. Let's put the right to the right side. So I'm going to put this to 0%, which means 0% from this blue line. No, wait. Yeah, so now 0% means that it's 0% from the blue line of the wrapper. So this is something to keep in mind. And then the wrapper, this blue line, is 5% to the right of the main viewer. So right over here. So this is 5% between the, well, actually the product pop-up. So from the product pop-up to the wrapper, like these white dots over here, is 5%. And then taking this one, this is relative to the wrapper, and now this is 0%. If I put this to 5, we're going to create this white space. So right now we're going to put this to 0. And I'm explaining all these things just to make you very aware of what's happening inside 3DVista and how to deal with all those little things. So for some reason 3DVista decides to make this 99.95%. Needs to be set back to 100. It just happens sometimes, something to accept. Let's now set this to 50%. So now we got it very nice to the right side, to the top, to the bottom, 50% all the way. And then we're going to do the same with the left side. So left. And it doesn't matter if you do something like this, like 0% right, 50%. Or that you do it like left 0 and then here 50%. Values are the same. In this case, there might be other use cases where these things do matter a little bit more. So right now I'm going to make this 50 by 100%. I leave all the other things as is. And now I'm going to remove those background colors. Let's just set the opacity to 0. So now we have left and we have right. And in the left, we're going to add an image. Yep. So let's just put this like this. And as you can see, whenever you click within this area, it will automatically add it in the left container. If I would have clicked here, it would have been putting it in the right container. If I would be clicking here, it will be putting it in the product pop-up. So knowing where to click kind of makes sense. Right now I do this by hand, putting it very big. And now what I'll be doing is I'm going to call this product and then image. Now, however you scale the things, it kind of depends on what kind of image you have, how they're designed. If you want to do fit inside or the fill or fit outside, fit to width, fit to height. That's something, I mean, this is not the right image to really test this with, or to set this to none. Right now I'm going to set this to none, just because this image looks better. But this is something you can play around with later on. So, as you can see, I can align the image to the center, to the left, to the right, and all that, but I'm going to keep this to the center, and vertically I'm going to keep this in the middle. All right. So let's go to the right side now. Right over here we need a label. So right now I'm just going to create a new element like this. I'm putting this very big. And now something you gotta understand is that the label is very similar to other programs used as single line text. And the stylable and multi-line text is known as multi-line text, or where you can add in some things, make things bold and italic and all that kind of stuff. Rich text. So because it's a title, I'm gonna go right now for the single line text for the label, and right now I'm not really caring so much about all the positioning, just that it's at least the right font. So I've decided to go for PT Mono, and I'm putting this around 3%. And this is something I'm also still struggling with to really understand this. I'm still playing around with it a lot. Usually one of those four, but more into that later. Let's go right now, put this there. Let's put this to the left side. Let's very quickly add a multi-line text. Something like this. I got some Lorem Ipsum ready. Let's put this also in the PT Mono font. Okay, and let's add the buy button. So we're going the button, new element over here. It shows you this gray box. And you can move this screen, by the way. Not everyone knows that. We're going to put this also in the PT Mono. I think it's this one. Yes. Let's put this in, I don't know, 2%. And let's put a text here and say buy. Now I'm going to make this a black button, and I'm going to add some radius. So right now you don't see the corners, but let's make this, I don't know, 20. And we have corners around maybe 25, no, 20 I think is better. You can play around. Maybe in this case it might be nice to do a slight gradient, something like this, but to your own liking, obviously. And then when people roll over the button, it might be nice to change something. You don't really need to, because usually buttons have a mouse effect. So right now, when you look at the mouse, it has this black pointer mouse, and right now it has this little, finger mouse. And usually, when you, here, use hand cursor. This basically indicates that you can click on it. So you don't really need to make the hover effect. You can play with that. Right now I'm going to keep this as is. And as you can see, this blue line is completely over this black button. And this, it's just, okay, let's order this a little bit. And the reason why this is also messy now is because we're using the absolute property of the container. So when we go to the right of the right container, you can see that the layout is set to absolute. But right now, we want to have everything aligned like this, that it stacks below each other or on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say scroller layout. I'm going not horizontal, but vertical, like this. And now you can see that this line is exactly, well, not exactly this line. And that is because there's a little bit of space in between. Let me just, well, yeah. And that little space in between, when I go to the right, is the gap. So I'm going to set this to 0. And now you see that the blue line is exactly the same. So this is what we like to start with. Now we go to the right, and the idea is to have this, to the left side, that's okay, but the vertical alignment to the middle, so something like this. Okay. Now what I like to do is to put this not to the middle, this one, but to the bottom. And this is to the top. And the reason I'm doing that is because I prefer to set the space in between using padding, so that I know that the space in between is always a fixed amount. So I'll say something like over here, maybe, yeah, like 12 pixels is usually one line of text, more or less. Maybe a little bit more. I'm kind of playing with these numbers around. Sometimes I'm going for 16 this time. So I put this to 16, and what that means is that you see right now, if it would be in the center, the text, it would be here. But now when I resize the screen, this will always be 16 pixels. And now it is in the center of this box. But when I make it bigger again, at some point it's going to stick to it. So, you know, when you have a very large screen, it might be positioned in the center, but then there's so much space in between that it looks weird. So that's why I like to have certain things a little bit more static than other things. Now, let's see, we got this image, and it might be also an image that is fully filled, and then there's not so much space in between the image here and this text over here. And you can see that when I see this blue line, that this is against the line and this is not against the line. So let's just put this by default also on 0 for now, and everything else as well, because I like to set the padding in another place so that everything is equal. So now the button is to this line, the text is to this line, and this title is to the line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to the right side, and I'm going to go to the padding, and then now from here I'm going to set the padding from here, so that everything goes with the same values, and not just the multi-line text. So we had something like 16 before in between here. So what I'd like to do is to keep those numbers kind of around the same. So what I do in my head is I'm doing 16 multiplied by 2 is 32. And so I'm going here for number 32. So 32 to me is like large padding, and then 16, like over here, is small padding in my head. Whatever you decide on the numbers, right? And then maybe I have an extra small padding or super large padding. But then I'm starting to set those numbers to the same numbers, so that if I'm working in another screen, I'm also using 16 and 32 and maybe 64 and 120. Well, you know. So this way I try to keep everything very consistent. So yeah, we got the image now. We got the right side with padding over here. And we got the title to the top. We might want to add an action to the button. Right now I'm not going to do that. Now let's see how this works out when we make it smaller. So, because we do everything consistently, also here everything happens the same way. The button now is very big while the text is very small. So this is something we might want to look into now. So let's edit the styles. No, I can't make it smaller. And let's do, instead of with low screen dimension, higher screen dimension, see what happens. Kind of the same. So in this case, I think I'm going to prefer the screen width. So basically the width of the button is going to stick with the same percentage. Let's see. This works out nicely. No, not really. With screen height. Okay, I'm seeing that the button right over here is pixels while the text is percentage wise. So that's not very much the same. So what we need to do is we need to change the button properties. So let's just change this to a percentage and to a percentage. Maybe fine tune this a little bit to numbers that we like. 25, maybe something more like 20, 22. I don't know, I'm kind of playing around. Maybe this a little bit less, 6 or 5%. Let's go for 6. And now the most important thing is the text going to scale equally with the button itself. We're going to find out now. And this is pretty nice. It's not looking so odd as it used to. We see that when you make it a very small screen or very long, that the button is going to stretch. So we might want to do a maximum width to the button. So, oh, it scrolls a bit fast. So what we're going to do here is, let's just put this to pixels, and now we can see this is 163 pixels by 39 pixels. Putting this back. So I want this to be less than 163. Let's put this back to 22%. So let's try something like a maximum of 130 pixels and maybe 120 pixels. Okay. And now, when we do this, you see that it still gets bigger, but to a certain point. So now yeah, maybe this is still too much, by the way. Let's try 100 or like 80. Yeah, no, okay. And maybe with the height as well, it might be, let's see, right now we're at 52. So let's do half of it, 80 by 40. All right. So now we got the button looking much better, scaling. And now what we can do is we can start to look at the text. So this is quite a challenge, and it requires a lot of trial and error how to deal with large text, especially when sometimes you have a little bit of text and sometimes you have a lot of text. One thing for sure is to make it full width, so that the text is going to use this space here as well, not only on the, yeah. So let's change this to 100%, like so. Now you might say, hey, but now we got this text very close to this blue line. Yes, so we're going to the right, we're going to the padding over here, and we're going to add the same amount of padding, 32 pixels, to there. And now this is the same. We might want to do the same things to the label, even though let's just add a lot of text and see what happens. This is a very long title. And now what you see is that it starts to, this has a nice word in English. I don't know if that's punctuate. In any case, there's a few things we can do. This is the reason why you at least have the percentage always to like 100%, even though it might not, even if it's just a long title like this. But when you look at this, you can say, well, left bottom, I believe it's here. Yeah. Let's see. No, it's not these. Yeah, this is one of the annoying things. So when you know that you're going to have a lot of long titles, it might actually be much safer to do a HTML text. So I'm going to do that now as well to show how that would work. And then you can always decide what you do yourself. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to call this product title 2. And this is going to be product title 1. This is going to be product description. And this is going to be product call to action, or button. Maybe button is better. All right. So let's see what we had here. PT mono, 3% with lower dimension. So let's change the, let's make sure, yeah, there's no text inside. Great. PT mono. This is a very long product title. Now we need to make sure this is going to be the same as the one above. So again, the padding, we're going to reset that 0, 0, 0. And this is a little bit complicated about 3DVista, is that they show here these numbers. Like, you would think this is just pixels then, but it's not. I mean, it can be, but you can also have, what is it? Resizable text with lower screen dimension. And this is very confusing because now we don't have the 3% number, so, but it does this kind of resizing. So let's just put it over here, increase this number, and just hope that we're gonna get the same thing. This is a very long title. Like so. Yeah, so right now we just need to do this a little bit on the feeling, which I don't like because I like to have those same numbers. And right now I cannot say, maybe I can, 29.5? No, I cannot. I can only say 29. So it's not entirely the same, but let's see what's going to happen now. We are going to make this smaller. Come on. Okay. I thought I had. Let's see. This is a very long title. Let's see, maybe like this. Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now you can see that by using multi-line text, especially knowing if you get a lot of long titles, that this might actually make much more sense in these kind of scenarios. But sometimes multi-line text is just a pain in the ass because you have different fonts or different heights and stuff, and it's not very easy to adjust. So I still prefer single line text if possible, but knowing that I'm going to have a lot of long titles, I'll be using this. So yeah, right now I'm going to remove this, or yeah, hide it for now. I'm going to make this just a product title. This is the product title backup. Yeah, for example, right now we cannot make this 16 pixels from the bottom. Now we need to make this very small. And now we get from one problem to another. But hey, this is why I'm doing this, to indicate also how I'm working on all these things and how I try to find those solutions. Okay, so this is not a, let's see, we had 16 pixels, okay. Let's make this 16. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this very, very slowly until I don't see the scroller anymore. Okay, more or less like this. So yeah, right now I'm gambling a little bit. It's not the nicest. I like to position it to the bottom and have it just perfectly there. But yeah, let's see what happens when we make this smaller. Okay, so we get the scroller being visible there. What we now need to do is, let's see what we can do about this. Yeah, so this is, with a single line text, you do not have this kind of problem with a scroll bar. So this is, you know, sometimes you like a single line text and sometimes the multi-line text. What I'm gonna do about this? Okay, right now I'm just going to make this bigger. Or, wait, this is, okay, command sets still doesn't work in 2023 with 3DVista. Let's see. Let's make this a bit bigger again. Okay. Right now this is set to 54 pixels in the height. Let's put this back. 6%. So the minimum size would be, I don't know, 40 pixels. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So when we start to add a minimum size, it's going to remove the scroller. When I put this back to 1, you start to see this. So now we can say 10, no, 15, no, 20, no, 25, 30, 40, 35, yeah, 30, 33, 32, yeah, 33. So 33 is the minimum size of the height to make this show up nicely. I thought. Let's see. Now, at this point, I don't know if this is a bug now or that I'm doing something wrong, because right now I cannot even. Okay, yes, 50, 60. Okay, yeah, right now it has these extra. So right now you just want to have it automatically to the top. So this is why it's. 70, 80. Wait, it was 33, so this is 66. Oh, no. 70? Maybe I'm making a miscalculation here. Okay, yeah. So this is the kind of payoff that you're gonna make having a very long title. I think I'll now just maybe just remove the padding. So right now we have 2 lines of text, no scroller, that's good. Okay. Let's see. So we got the title now, we got the text, we got the buy button. Let's just, oh yeah, something we forgot. We needed to add an action to show hide the product pop-up. So let's go to the panoramas, spot, action, show hide components. And we're going to have this pop-up showing without an effect. Personal choice. Okay, so here we are. We have this, but we don't have anything to close this, so that's something we need to add. Now looking at the buy button, I don't like it. I would like to have at least a minimum amount of padding in the button that, you know, the text is not gonna be right to the edges. So that is something. So let's do that first. The buy button. 16, so this is something I'm gonna make 8 padding. This 8. 8. Oh, come on. 8. And 8. Okay, it's not making the button any larger. So the minimum amount, minimum size is going to be at least 1616. So let's do that. 1616. I'm not gonna change anything because it's 8 and 8, and then the text itself, which is usually around 12 pixels, so it's 12 plus 8 plus 8 is 28. So let's do 28 and 28. Not changing so much. Let's try a little bit bigger. 45, 40. Nothing's changing at all. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, well, let's try making it a little bit bigger then. Maybe 42. Let's put this back the minimum size. Yeah, it's actually the font that's actually a little too big. But okay, that's a bit tricky. I'm going to leave this now for what it is. What we need to do is we need to add a close button to this. So yeah, you can use the default thing over here, but I don't like it. I'd rather have either a button or an image, but in this case I think I'm going for an image because I'm not going for any hover effects. So over here, close fill, and putting in the image there. What I need to make sure using an image is that it's going to have this mouse effect changing to the hand cursor. So I'm going to add this effect over here. Then let's see, right now it placed it within the wrapper, which is a bit strange because it should be. Ah, yeah, okay, now I placed it within the product pop-up. That's good. So we're going to call this close button. And we're going to align this to the top right. So this is 0, 0. Make sure you have it to the top right because some people have something like this. And then they wonder why, when they make the screen smaller, sometimes it goes all the way to the middle or to the center or something like that because it's relative to the left. Yeah, I think when I put this to pixels, I get these weird things like this. Or, yeah, put this to pixels, I get this. It's like, hey, where's my close button? It's gone. Yeah, because there are pixels and then you have it aligned to the left, but then the right is now a minus number, and so you need to rescale the screen and make sure it's gonna still work then. So I'm going to put this to the top right and then put this to 0. So these positions are very important now. And what I'm now going to do is, it's gonna be relative. let's do something like 7 by 7%, I don't know, something like that. Make sure that an icon at least has 20 pixels. Because sometimes they get very small, and it's too small. Sometimes you need to make this a bit bigger than 20 pixels, but that's stuff you play around with by testing it. And the maximum size, like right now, it's pretty big. So let's see what happens when we make this 80. Okay, still clickable. It's nice. I think actually the minimum size should be much bigger than 20 pixels. More like 60 and 60. No, that's too big. 40 by 40. Yeah. Okay. And now what I like to make sure is that the close button is going, like right now you can see that the close button is a little bit to the top, but not to the right side of the screen. So we're going to say with the scale mode, fit inside, that's good. Horizontal alignment to the right, and vertical alignment to the top. So to the top right, that's important. And now it's very much to the edge, and you probably guessed it, we're going to add padding for that now. But as you can see, right now we do not have any padding options, which is a bummer. The way to add padding to any element is to wrap a container around it. So we're going to go to the container, add this, go over here, call this close button wrapper, close wrapper, I don't know. And we're going to put the close button in the close wrapper and change the color. Remove it. And we're going to go through the whole story again. So what we had, I think 7% by 7%, like so. This was 80 by 80, 40 by 40. So I'm basically just copying all those things that we just did a little while ago. And of course, top right 0% by 0%. All right, we got this now. Do this. But let's just to explain it a little bit better, I'm going to make this, I don't know, like 300 pixels. Oh, if I want to make that 300, I need to first make that 300. And this also the same. 300. Now, you start to see something very strange. When I make this close button, this image actually, very large, while the container in which it's inside is very small, it's kind of gone. Now, there are various things I can do. I can set the fitting now to visible, and voila, we have it right over there. So basically, fitting visible means ignore the container size. You can also say fitting hidden, and then it just means, okay, whenever you go outside the container, just don't show anything. The default setting is scroll, and then you always see this little scroll wheel over there. Very annoying. So usually hidden or visible is a very good thing to fix a lot of things inside 3DVista tours of people. So let's just put the close button back to 100%. And this, the only thing that's really needed is to have this 100%, and just you can keep this to the original values, 10,000, I think, 10,000, 1 by 1. This doesn't matter actually. But this needs to be 100%. So yeah, 100%, and then we define everything, all those settings that we inside this container that's on top. So we got the 7%, 80, 40, top right. Okay, great. And the big thing we've been waiting for is to add padding to this, which we can do right now. Okay, right now we don't see anything. It's very much the edge. So now we say something like 8 maybe. No, it's that one. Yeah, 8 pixels by, let's just remove this. And then from the top, 8 pixels. Something like this. And now, we can ignore a little bit what we said before because this needs a minimum size. So yeah, I'm playing a lot with all those numbers, right? So let's put this back to 40, 40. Okay. Now we have a close button to be perfect top right. Now, the big question is, do we actually need a close button? The reason I'm saying this is because usually with pop-ups on websites or anything like that, what people are doing is people are clicking just anywhere outside the thing itself. So they click on this black side. So if you would just have it like this, people understand clicking here is closing it off. But some people really do like a close button, so you can still show it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to add an action to the close button. I'm going to add an action to the product pop-up to hide itself. And then people who click there also close it. But this is just like a cosmetic thing then. So I'm just going to add an action, show hide components, hide on click. I don't like fades. Go to product pop-up and say done. So let's see. We can still fake it and we can still add the action there anyway. It doesn't matter so much, but it's not necessary. So let's just preview this and see how it works. One of the things is right now we see the product pop-up while, we're just working on it and we don't want to show it every time. The first thing people see in the virtual tour. And yes, you can just hide it like this and then preview, but then you need to show it again when you're going to work on it. And that's a bit annoying. So what I usually do is add a tag, hide. I usually make this red. Maybe something like hide on start. Hide on start. Okay, great. And then I make on the main viewer, I add an action, show hide components on initialization, hide everything without an effect that is hide. Come on. Hide on start. Okay. I'm afraid this is a bug. Let's see. It's so annoying sometimes. Okay, let's just try and see if it works. No, it doesn't. Let's see if we apply this correctly. Hide on start. Usually it just shows a list. Okay, well, in this case it doesn't work. But the nice thing about using tag like this is that whenever you have another skin component that you're working on and you just always want to hide and start, just add the tag. It does it right away. And the same applies with the other way around, showing things in start. So you want to show always the logo or something like that. But, okay. So let's just ignore this. I'm going to hide components. Just do it like this for now. All right, and here we are. So you can see the mouse is changing, and we have right over here the product pop-up. You see that the mouse is changing when you hover over. That's good. Yeah. Also on the buy button, the same thing. The mouse is changing with the hand cursor. Around edges, we can make this smaller. Oh yeah, and yeah, clicking here now is closing it. And yeah, you can also click. You cannot click here. Let's see. You can just say enable interaction, turn that off. But now 3DVista is designing to have the hand cursor gone. while I have the hand cursor turned on. So this is annoying. It should just be showing it. It doesn't. Then we're just gonna take this action, click 2 times on it, copy, go over here, paste, enable interaction. Let's turn that on again. Let's make sure, yes, now it does work, and it shows the mouse. Okay. So we can click here now, we can click here, it's all good. Buy button doesn't do anything right now. But yeah, so this is how I'm into creating a product pop-up inside the 3DVista skin. I hope this video has helped you with all the little things, your design skills, dealing with the logic and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.